Hi, we are deprescribing.org. Our research team develops evidence-based guidelines for deprescribing. This is one of two videos where we will walk you through a case example showing how to use the Statin Deprescribing Guideline. This guideline applies to people 65 years or older that are taking a statin for primary or secondary cardiovascular prevention and are not having any side effects. If you haven't seen our first video, which explains the guideline and algorithm in more detail, we encourage you to check it out using the link in the description below. Our first case is John, a 78-year-old man visiting your primary care clinic for a review of his chronic disease management. As you can see, he has a number of medical conditions, including a stroke 5 years ago that has left him needing a wheelchair to move around. He's also on several medications, one of which is a atorvastatin 40 milligrams daily that started after his stroke. John makes his own health decisions. His wife supports him for all his activities of daily living. She's visiting the clinic today with him. Starting at the top of the algorithm, we know that John is older than 65 years, and he's been taking a statin for about 5 years for secondary cardiovascular disease prevention because of his stroke history. John is living with frailty, and you can appreciate that his complex health conditions limit how much he can do for himself. You also know he's taking 9 different medications. In John's case, it's reasonable to start a conversation about his statin. When we assess John's health, we feel he's not at end of life, and current evidence suggests that continuing John's statin would be reasonable. But we want to have a conversation about his values, preferences, and healthcare goals. It's all about what matters most to him, and the only way to know that is to have a conversation. So the back page of the algorithm gives some ideas of how you might want to start, explaining why it's important to review medications regularly. You can also see information on what factors are important for decision making and what the evidence says about stopping statins. For John, he says he doesn't have any concerns or questions about his medications. You explain that there might be a higher chance of having a heart attack or another stroke after stopping a statin, but you are very uncertain about this. You ask him what is important to him about his health. He tells you that he's motivated to live as long as possible and is concerned about having another stroke or possibly a heart attack. When you talk to him about his statin, he says he has no problems taking it and reaffirms that he's not bothered by taking pills. Together, you decide it makes sense for him to continue taking his statin. At the same time, you also agree to a plan to talk about this again at his next annual chronic disease management appointment to make sure things haven't changed. Don't forget to include a clearly documented note about your conversation and when you plan to revisit things. You can share it with relevant care team members, including specialists. This helps the team better understand the person's wishes. We hope you found this example helpful in understanding how to use the statin deprescribing algorithm for patients not at end of life. Remember, the goal of deprescribing is to reduce medication burden and harm while maintaining or improving quality of life. It should always be done with planning and supervision by a healthcare professional to make sure it's appropriate and safe. Finally, we would like to say a big thank you to our guideline panel and staff and to our funders and partners.